Welcome back to your entrepreneurial wake-up call. Mark Haney is living proof that nobody goes through life undefeated. His failures have defined his philosophies. His successes have defined his mantras. And through his stories, we are awakened to our own true potential. He is the entrepreneur next door, and this is The Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to The Mark Haney Show. I'm Mark Haney, and I am here with Leah Bailey. She is with the California Craft Brewers Association. How you doing, Leah?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I have to imagine you work with entrepreneurs all the time. Am I right?
That's right. I grew up with them. My dad was actually an entrepreneur, so it's kind of in my blood. And the craft brewing industry, they're all entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, creatives. They're this really amazing mix of a person, come from all sorts of backgrounds, and now they have their own businesses. So really creative individuals.
Well, talk to us about the association. What do you do when you bring all these beer makers together?
So we're a nonprofit trade association. Primarily what we do is protect and support the businesses, brewery businesses in California at the state capitol. So making sure there's no bills or regulatory issues that could harm their business model.
Okay.
But then really a huge part of what we do is education and consulting with our brewery members to help them navigate not only a very highly regulated alcohol industry, but also everything from business acumen to building technical skills. So a lot of our conferences and events have different tracks that focus on everything that you need to know to have a brewery, which is so much more than just running a business or just making beer. So lots of things in between.
So talk to us about the state of the craft brewing industry. Are you guys growing, shrinking? Because I know I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everybody that's listening to this knows their local neighborhood brewery, because it's 92% of everyone that live in California live within 10 miles of a brewery. We have 950 in operation across the state of California.
And how does that stack up nationally?
So there is around 5,000, almost 5,000 across the U.S.
Okay.
So we have the most breweries of any state in the nation here in California, and we've grown incredibly rapidly over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, we had about 200 breweries in the state of California.
Oh, gosh, it's exploding.
Yes, and our association has had to grow to kind of match that demand.
And so you have the whole state. You're based here out of Sacramento. Well, let's talk about our hometown. What's craft brewing look like here in Sacramento?
I love talking about Sacramento because it's my hometown, so it's really fun to talk about it. We have almost over 70 breweries in Sacramento and surrounding regions. I think if you kind of count some of the outlying counties, it's closer to that 100 mark. And we've seen just incredible growth here as well, and really great beer coming out of Sacramento. We actually have, I think, one of the largest number of breweries of any city in the state right now. San Diego has quite a bit, San Francisco, LA is growing, but Sacramento's up there in the top three, which is
One
great.
of my good buddies, Ryan Graham, Track 7 Brewing, he's a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, as am I. His business is growing like crazy too. Talk to us about the difficulties that guys like Ryan run into and other people who are building these businesses, and how you help them to overcome them.
Well, first of all, as I already mentioned, alcohol beverage industry is incredibly regulated. So everything that you say and do and how you sell and how you market, there's a rule associated with it. So it's a little bit harder sometimes to use things like social media to market your brand because of restrictions around that. So you really need to know the law in order to be successful in this business.
What kind of restrictions are there? Because I know banking and medical, they've got restrictions as well. What's the difference in craft beer?
Well, so craft beer, one of the reasons that craft beer has actually blossomed in the state of California is because of these restrictions. So we are not allowed as an industry to incentivize a beer buyer, like your local pub or grocery store, to hold our brand. So, like the chip manufacturers, they go into the grocery store and they pay for eye-level shelf space placement. Okay. And so what happens is big corporate companies with deeper pockets can really leverage that power to get that shelf space. You're not allowed to do that in craft beer. And so really at the end of the day, you're competing on quality, you're competing on branding, but you're not competing because you have more money.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of us, we build our businesses via word of mouth, right? If it's a good enough quality product, people start talking about it. Are you finding that? And how do people get to know you? I didn't even know you guys existed.
I know. We're a little bit of a behind-the-scenes association. We deal every day with the craft brewers, and then they deal with the beer lovers. But if you ask Ryan at Track 7 or any other brewer that they've They probably have had an email or two from me in the past.
I love it. How many members do you have?
We have, it's roughly 80% of the industry is members of our association.
Oh, wow.
Which
Okay.
is really incredible to have
Well,
that.
what's wrong with that other 20%? Why don't
You
they?
know, I don't know. Let's ask them.
Yeah, let's see if we
bring
can
them on the
get to
show next
those
time.
people.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the benefit. Obviously, you get the political. You're advocating from a political standpoint. You're educating. But let's talk about like where do you see the industry going in the future? Is this growth going to continue?
Well, there's thousands of wineries in the state of California. So in terms of number of businesses, I think that there's still room for growth, but I think that the business models may be shifting. It's much harder to distribute outside of your hometown. And I think the beer lover is very reflective, particularly here in Sacramento. You see the farm to fork movement. People want locally made food. They want local produce. And you're seeing that reflected in the beer industry as well. You want your neighborhood brewer's beer. You want the local beer. Local is king. So it's harder to come in as a brewery from Nevada or from Wisconsin and come into Sacramento and really make a splash. So I think reflective of that, it's harder to grow outside of your hometown more than ever.
What about tasting rooms? So many of these great beer places have their own restaurants and
Yeah.
tasting areas. Talk to us about that model.
I mean, it's a very successful model. I think we've seen so much growth there because these tasting rooms become a living room for their community. They're very open. They're very family friendly. You can go there and hang out and play a game, and you don't have that same bar feel. It's a different environment that has created, and now you're seeing bars kind of reflect that environment in different beer bar settings. But there's something really special about going into your neighborhood brewery, seeing the tanks, seeing where they manufacture the beer. Probably the person that served you the beer is on the ownership team, right? Everyone's really invested. Yeah. They live down the street from you. There's something really unique about that. I think the consumer loves that.
Yeah, I love what Track 7 is doing, but give us another success story. Think name drop a little bit. Who out there in craft beer in Sacramento is really killing it right now?
Oh, there's so many. I can't even start. I would have to like remember all 70. Yeah. But there's been several that opened up. Urban Roots Brewery and Smokehouse in downtown, they just opened up. Moxa here in Roseville, they just opened up, and there was lines out the door to try their beer and to try experience their culture there. And so you can see that the beer lover here in Sacramento, they love it, and there's the demand there, and it's really great to see.
I love it. Okay, just closing thoughts. If I'm a beer maker or a beer lover, how can I best? Well, actually, if I'm a beer maker, how do I get in touch with you so that I can get the help, the advocacy of the California Craft Brewers Association?
If you Google California Craft Beer, you'll find me.
Okay.
You'll probably find all of our contact information. But if you're here local in Sacramento and you own a brewery or you're considering getting into this industry or a facet of this industry, highly recommend coming to the California Craft Beer Summit, which is our signature event in a couple weeks here in Sacramento. Okay. We have multiple business development, marketing, selling tracks, brings in together the whole industry. So not just beer makers, but allied industries, distributors, hospitality folks, kind of everybody that touches beer. Something there for everybody that's interested in building their business.
Where is that at? Where's it gonna be
downtown
located?
Sacramento.
Okay.
It'll be at the Sacramento Convention Center September 6th and 7th. And then we throw a big party to end the event, Summit Beer Festival out on Capitol Mall, and we have 170 California breweries pouring for that.
Sounds like a heck of a party.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Leah, for coming on the show, sharing your story, and what you do for this industry that I love. Stick around because Marcus and I are going to share our takeaways, closing thoughts about building a personal brand. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is The Mark Haney Show.